Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Get the string fruit and become a puppet manipulator. Chapter 41. The defense of the pavilion master of the trial pavilion is over, and the elites of the puppet clan who want to see an ending have also achieved their goals. They have taken a deep look at the growing place and silently embarked on the road forward. In the never-ending wind and sand of the kingdom of wind, perhaps they will never return, and no one will remember them again, but this is their destiny, and they have no regrets. The attack Sasori used just now is definitely some kind of secret technique, similar to the puppet line, but it is different, and it is not an R master. It will not produce any chakra fluctuations. I doubt. The decision-making executives of Chio and his party silently watched everyone leave, sighed deeply, and dispersed. Only Chio and Ebizo and others left before they spoke with a gloomy expression. From the very beginning, he saw some weird things in Sasori, but the power was not strong, so he didn't take it to heart, but today Sasori thoroughly showed it. Ebizo realized the horror of power. What worries him the most is that there is no chakra fluctuation in the way of using this power, and he doesn't even know where Sasori learned it. As a ninja based in the kingdom of wind with strategy and layout, what Ebizo hates most is this kind of power that is not under his control. Just leave this to Anbu. It's just that before Ebizo finished what he wanted to say, Chio suddenly gave him a scroll. The S-rank secret art created by Monziman. No one has ever been a master. Has it been a Sasori master? You are. Ebizo raised his brow. This was an encrypted scroll of intelligence. After Ebizo opened it with a special method, he was immediately stunned. He is also from the Puppet Clan, but he has no talent at all in the three lines of the Puppet Clan, and he has become the high-level decision-making representative of the Kingdom of Wind. In the Puppet Clan for so many years, he has never heard of Menziman. Having created such a weird secret technique, he immediately understood that this was information that Chio had forged for Sasori. Everyone has a secret. He is my grandson, and my only relative besides you. He is also the hope of Puppet Gate. Chio glanced at Ebizo, and then walked to the trial cabinet. Sasori entered the trial cabinet for the first time and needed some guidance. I understand. I hope your choice is correct. Ebizo looked at Chio's back with some complexity, and sighed. The outer cabinet of the trial pavilion has time for you to take a good look. You can come anytime. This is the cabinet. Go in. The rest is up to you. Chio took Sasori into the trial pavilion. The trial pavilion was probably once a shrine. The layout inside was just like a shrine, but there were no idols. Simply took Sasori around the trial pavilion and Chio took Sasori into Sasori and entered the trial pavilion. Cabinet. The cabinet of the trial pavilion was underground, and a metal gate covered with seals blocked the way. After opening the gate with a special technique, he nodded at Sasori. Sasori entered it without hesitation, which was originally the purpose of his coming this time. This is illusion. It's just that when he entered the gate, the scene changed. What appeared in front of him was a circular valley. The densely packed ninja army rushed towards him with a face and grimace, but all just maintained the charging action, as if it had been frozen. Kill. Just when Sasori didn't know why, a ninja closest to him suddenly roared, the freeze frame movement was suddenly released, and he swung his weapon and slashed towards Sasori. Although Sasori didn't know what was going on, he subconsciously fought back, and the bullet string penetrated his heart with one blow. Kill. Kill. Before Sasori inspected the ninja's body, the two ninjas who were on his body also yelled at the same time and rushed to Sasori. Sasori frowned, and shot the bullet string with both hands and directly shot through the heads of the two ninjas. Killing these two ninjas, in a moment of effort, the three ninjas behind them screamed again and killed Sasori. Sasori liberated the puppet without hesitation and greeted him. Looking at the ninja occupying the entire valley, Sasori suddenly had a very bad premonition. Yi Kang outside the trial pavilion looked at Chio, and curiosity forced her to ask, "Mother-in-law, what is in the cabinet of the trial pavilion?" The miracles left by the patriarch can only be understood and unspeakable. Everyone will have different opportunities. Chio smiled and explained to Yi Kang mysteriously, but the answer made Yi Kang even more puzzled. Only after a while, Yi Kang found that Sasori had walked out of the cabinet with a pale face. Looking at Sasori who came out just after entering, everyone who had not had time to leave the scene was stunned. In the past experience of entering the cabinet, no one would come out in such a short period of time. Are you all right? Sasori's face was obviously wrong at the moment, as if experiencing something terrible. Sasori, who had just stretched out his hand and looked a little confused, suddenly changed his face when Yi Kang approached him, with a brutal murderous aura erupted from Sasori's body. Sasori's 3 puppets were suddenly liberated. At this moment, Sasori's 3 puppets seemed to have gone through countless battles, covered with dense scars. The huge murderous aura was like the essence, and Yi Kang was set in place. Even Chio showed a shocked look. Such a strong murderous would appear on Sasori's body. Even the battle-tested old ninjas in the family do not necessarily have such murderous aura. Several masked Anbu appeared next to Chio, and everyone locked Sasori. As long as Sasori moved, everyone would immediately attack. Sorry, instinctive reaction. I didn't control it for a while. How many years have passed? Sasori also realized his gaffe, and immediately took a deep breath, took the puppet back to the seal, rubbed a somewhat stiff face, and asked Yi Kang with an ugly smile. How many years? Less than 10 minutes have passed. What's the murderous intent on you? Yi Kang raised his eyebrows. Sasori's question was really funny, but he couldn't laugh at this moment. The moment of murderousness Sasori showed just now makes Yi Kang feel terrified. And Yi Kang can be pretty sure that before Sasori entered the trial cabinet, he still didn't have such a breath at all. Subconsciously turned his gaze to the cabinet of the trial cabinet. It was obvious that all the problems lie in the trial cabinet. Less than 10 minutes. Is it an illusion? Sasori raised his eyebrows. He knew Yi Kang wouldn't make such jokes with him, so he immediately understood that what he had experienced just now was probably not a real existence. It is guided by the illusion. It's just that this illusion is too real, so real that Sasori has felt the fear of death several times. That kind of real feeling is definitely not caused by illusion. And there were indeed many wounds on his body and the puppet's body. It is the highest achievement of Monziman. True illusion, a mechanism. What you see and experience is what you feel most lacking in your heart. The more you desire in your heart, the more the scene will reflect. The real, the longer. Chio seemed to have seen Sasori's doubts, so he smiled at Sasori and relieved Sasori's doubts. The puppet clan's background is deeper than everyone thought. The pinnacle of puppets near Song 10 people, the special physique transfiguration 1000 fingers, and the secret art Nianhua Wushwang each is the treasure of the puppet master. Not only that, but the secret treasure hidden in the shrine where Monziman opened the mountain Tachibana is even more shocking. Even the puppets want to figure out what caused this special illusion. It's a pity that no one can find the truth, only a few words in ancient books can understand it. It's just that this heritage is too deep, so it can't be passed down. Let's not talk about the 3 treasures of the puppet clan, just this true fantasy has special restrictions. Each person can only enter 3 times in his life, and each time will produce a different fantasy. Of course, this is related to the obsession in the heart. If people with no distracting thoughts enter, they will enter for nothing. And people who are not right in their minds, or people with ill intention enter into it, will never be able to get out. It turned out to be so. I want to get a good night's sleep. Sasori nodded, and some understood. What Sasori was most dissatisfied with was the lack of practical experience and the lack of change in dealing with the enemy. This lump has been stuck in his heart. That's why Sasori was in the real illusion, and I don't know how long he fought in the real illusion. Sasori has been killing all the people in the valley before he walked out of the valley and appeared in front of everyone. As soon as he thought that there were no enemies around, Sasori's spirit relaxed, his eyes closed, and he fell asleep in Yekora's arms. Yi Kang smiled helplessly, and returned to the room assigned to him with Sasori in his arms. Sasori didn't know how long he had fallen asleep, and when he woke up, he heard an unfamiliar voice. I heard that your grandson is back, so I made a special visit. By the way, my ineffective son would like to visit Yi Kang. Hey, Yi Kang has become a lot more beautiful recently. How about being the daughter-in-law of our Sand family? Sasori, who had just woke up, had a cold face immediately. Looking along the voice, there were 4 blurred figures standing outside the door of Sasori's room. Master Fengying, it's not good for you to dig the foot of my grandson's wall so in front of me. Chio's face is also not pretty. Although Fengying said that he was visiting Chio's grandson, he could see it to any fools. In fact, he came to Yi Kang. Feng Ying's son Luo Sha is interesting to Yi Kang because the whole synagogue knows it. Feng Ying also deliberately brought Yi Kang, who has no big background, into the Sand family. It's just because of the relationship between the Puppet family and the Sand family. Face has never been so obvious to dig his corner before, so Chio also followed suit, haha. But this time I didn't expect to make such a request directly in front of Yekora and Chio, which is tantamount to spreading the matter. If Chio refuses, Third Cage's face will probably be unsightly. Just ask Yi Kang's opinion. Third Cage just smiled and turned his gaze to Yi Kang. Feng Ying came to a direct showdown this time. It was not without reason. He received news from Yi Kang not long ago, hoping Feng Ying could help her get rid of the puppet. The marriage contract of a family. Although Yi Kang didn't promise Feng Ying to join the Sha family, he owed a favor, and he could slowly win over Yi Kang. Hello, Feng Ying-sama, I'm sorry, I am ready to fulfill my marriage contract with Sasori. Yi Kang was embarrassed, bowed deeply for a long time, and told Feng Ying of her decision. Didn't you disagree before? Why did you agree suddenly? The smile on Feng Ying's face suddenly stiffened, but he immediately returned to nature. He looked at Yi Kang and Chio with some doubts. He suddenly changed his attitude when he wanted to come to Yi Kang. Perhaps Chio did something behind his back. I originally thought he was a trash that didn't want to make progress. I naturally looked down on such a person, but through contact with me, I discovered that he is a real genius, and he also defeated me by virtue of his strength. There was a slight arc at the corner of Hakura's mouth. Now when I look back, the matter between her and Sasori is actually very interesting. After being fingered as a marriage, she still dared to be so arrogant because of Feng Ying's backing. Originally, she was planning to win Sasori, but she was afraid that Chio would regret it, so she approached Feng Ying and wanted him to help put pressure on the Puppet clan. The original plan was very good, but Yi Kang did not calculate that he would lose, and Sasori would still use such a simple and rude way to occupy her body, and by the way, occupy her heart, whether it is a man or a woman. For the first person he had a relationship had a special feeling, and so did Yi Kang. From the initial resistance, contempt and resistance, he slowly discovered the charm of Sasori. Ha ha ha, Luasha, it seems that you were really out of play this time. A fierce light flashed deep in Feng Ying's eyes, but he concealed it very well. Even Chio didn't notice it, but turned his head and patted it and never said anything. His face seemed to have eaten Luasha like a fly. Is he stronger than me in terms of talent? In terms of strength, is he stronger than me? In terms of status, is he stronger than me? Just because he beats you, you agree. Then I defeat you, and then defeat him, are you? Just when Chio was about to say something to warm up the field, Luo Sha opened her mouth first, and stared at Yi Kang aggressively as soon as she opened her mouth. Rosa. When Luo Sha's words were about the same, Feng Ying suddenly shouted angrily, interrupting what he said next. However, neither Yi Kang nor Chio's face is pretty. What Luo Sha said is part of it, and more importantly, Feng Ying's attitude. If Feng Ying really wanted to stop Luo Sha, then Luo Sha should have been stopped long ago. He won't wait for Luo Sha to say the last sentence before stopping him. Third Cage is known as the strongest Feng Ying ever. On the one hand, his strength is on the one hand. On the other hand, he has his wrists and cruel personality. He will never allow anyone to lose his face. Originally, he didn't mean to pull Yi Kang into the Sha's family. After all, she had an appointment with the Puppet clan. It was extremely stupid to offend the Puppet clan, who was the mainstay in the Kingdom of Wind, for an unfounded Yi Kang. But now it's different. Yi Kang asked him for help, but now he regrets it again. If you don't show her a little bit of color, where can you put your own face? No matter how disgusting the Puppet clan and Yi Kang are good. Don't be so troublesome, you can beat me. Just when the scene fell into embarrassment, the door behind Chio and Yi Kang opened, and Sasori, with a sneer on his face, appeared behind the crowd, looking directly at Luasha with a gloomy face. This is the genius of the Puppet clan in Yi Kang's mouth, Chio's grandson Sasori. I'm sorry, it was a newsie who was abrupt. The appearance of Sasori made Feng Ying and Luasha stunned for a moment. Sasori looked too young, but this did not make them look down on him. The temperament that Sasori revealed is definitely not something ordinary people can have. Luasha. just realizing that Sasori's temperament is special, but Feng Ying clearly understands that this is the meaning of murderous aura inadvertently. This shows that Sasori's hands are covered with blood. Such people are often cold and ruthless, from the Dead Mountain Blood Sea. The killer who came out of it. It was also because of Sasori's special temperament that Feng Ying calmed down and smiled apologetically at Sasori and Chiyo. There is nothing abrupt and unobtrusive. This is a world where the strong are respected. You may become the fourth cage in the future. Do you dare to single out? Sasori was neither humble nor arrogant in front of Feng Ying. He just nodded and turned his gaze to Luosha. This man who will become the fourth cage in later generations is also the big dragon set that Orochimaru somehow killed. What qualifications do you have to challenge me? Because you are a so-called genius. The genius who died in my hands is not 100 or 80. After seeing Sasori, Rosha calmed down. She wanted to agree with her, but after taking a deep breath, she maintained her proper demeanor. In his opinion, Sasori is indeed a genius, but according to information, Sasori only practices. After a short period of time, no matter how talented people are, they also need time to cultivate. Some things can't be made up for by talent, such as actual combat experience. Then you dare not. Don't shear here if you dare. I'm going back to sleep. Yi Kang comes in to accompany me to the west. Sasori sneered at Luosha slightly mockingly, then turned around to enter the room, and at the same time hooked his finger at Yi Kang with a wicked smile. Hakura's face turned red, and Sasori glanced white, and still followed Sasori honestly. The expressions of Chiyo, Feng Ying, and Luosha all changed. Sasori's attitude was one of them. Yi Kang's reaction made them feel extremely surprised. They are not the first day they met Yi Kang, but they have never been in Yi. I have seen such a shy expression on Kura's face, and he actually obeyed Sasori's order and followed behind him. Everyone can see what it means for a woman to accompany a man to the west. Luosha and Feng Ying both have special abilities, and they both cast their eyes on Yi Kang's frost retreat almost at the same time. The next moment a wave of anger uncontrollably poured out of Luosha's heart. He grew up with Yi Kang and always regarded Yi Kang as his own woman. Unexpectedly, Sasori was the first to be listed first. That hatred was not only directed at Sasori, but also at Yi Kang. Yi Kang betrayed him in his heart. Immediately, Luosha roared and attacked Sasori, who was facing her back. A spear made of gold sand penetrated directly through Sasori's body. Sasori turned his head in pain, clutching the spear that pierced his body tightly, and staring at Luosha with a shocked look on his face. Chiyo's face darkened, Feng Ying's pupils shrank, and Luosha was stunned. Although he shot with anger just now, the angle and timing of the attack were not the best, and the roar made him expose his actions. Even a ninja with average strength should have the strength to escape from this blow. Unexpectedly, Sasori was shot through by one of his spears. Is his strength so weak? The rumors from the outside world are all in vain. The reason why Chiandai's face became ugly was because Luosha dared to attack her grandson in front of him. This simply didn't put her, the patriarch of the Puppet clan, in his eyes, nor the entire Puppet clan. In the eyes. Feng Ying's gaze became a little dangerous. He was already silently planning how to deal with this incident. Feng Ying's son killed the grandson of the patriarch of the Puppet clan, and he still attacked for no reason. It is totally unreasonable, and it may even affect the dominance of the entire Sand family in the Kingdom of Wind. Are you a fool? Both real people and puppets can't distinguish between them, so you dare to be so arrogant just because of your strength. Look at your expression and you are almost scared to pee. Don't be afraid, it's not that simple to kill me. But when everyone was in a trance, Sasori took the words just now, his face changed from shock to sneer, and the pierced Sasori turned into countless threads and spread out, and the real Sasori came from the room behind everyone. Came out. Originally, I was a little worried about the negative impact of his impulse on the internal situation in the Kingdom of Wind, but I didn't expect Sasori to be fine at all, and he still stared at him with a sneer. The sneer at the corner of Sasori's mouth, and Sasori, who was turning into silk, slapped Luosha's face like a slap, and the anger in his heart could not stop. Immediately, fine golden sand appeared around everyone. Luosha was ready to move. But Sasori still stood there with a sneer, without any movement, as if he didn't see Luosha in his eyes at all. Master Feng Ying, it's a bit too late. Just when Luosha was about to do it, Chio glanced at Feng Ying with an extremely ugly expression. Sorry, Kenzie is young and ignorant. Let's come back, Luosha. Feng Ying, who was in shock, came back to her senses. She smiled apologetically at Chio, and waved at Luo Sha's back. Feng Ying is known as the strongest man in the Kingdom of Wind. He has always had confidence in his own strength, but just now he didn't see through when Sasori used clone technique. And this kind of clone technique is obviously not among the masters of the Sand Nation intelligence system. There has never been an avatar that disappears as a silk thread and leaves the scene. What embarrassed Feng Ying was that after he finished speaking, Luo Sha didn't move at all, and had no intention of pushing it. She still stared at Sasori, ready to do it at any time. Snapped. The sound of a slap suddenly spread to everyone's ears, but it was not Feng Ying or Chio that made the shot, but Luo Sha's own hand. In his astonished gaze, the slap hit his own face. The strength was so great that he even left a deep red mark on his face. I like your attitude of admitting mistakes. It's okay, I forgive you. The smile at the corner of Sasori's mouth became even worse, and then he shook his fingers, disconnecting the parasite string of the fingers, and his face was generous. I am going to kill you. Luo Sha's eyes, who had recovered, were red, and this slap completely wiped out all the possibility of reconciliation. The fine golden sand in the sky raged, and even a violent wind began to blow everyone. Snapped. It was just that before Luo Sha shot, there was another applause. It was still Luo Sha's face, but this time it was not Sasori who hit it, but Feng Ying. Did you not hear what I said? Do you know where you were wrong? Men have to deal with the fight in a man's way, instead of launching a sneak attack while being dazzled by anger. Facing Luosha, Feng Ying's face with his back to Chio and Sasori looked a bit cruel. There was a slap mark on each of Luosha's left and right faces. Although he slapped one of them, these two slaps and it makes no difference to hit him in the face. This is on the face of his Feng Ying. Luo Sha didn't live up to it herself, and unexpectedly attacked without warning. This was the reason why Feng Ying was forced to take action. Two slaps didn't make Luo Sha wake up, but Feng Ying's eyes with biting chills made Luo Sha shiver. Then he remembered that his father could sit in Feng Ying's position, but it was not because of him. Wise, but because of harsh methods. Dare to come and try, whoever loses. Closing his eyes and taking a deep breath, Luo Sha completely calmed down, staring directly at Sasori, ready to challenge. He understood what his father meant by man's way, that was in front of everyone. Defeated the opponent dignifiedly, instead of relying on sneak attacks. First of all, what you have to make clear is that I asked you this sentence just now, but you dare not. It is a joke to ask me if I dare now. Luo Sha was only half talking, and Sasori interrupted him with a sneer. Luo Sha seemed to him to be a joke at all. If he readily agreed to his challenge just now, Sasori would still admire him as a person. However, he had to choose the posture of the superior to look down on Sasori, and this was the scene where Sasori slapped him in the face in public. Your identity poses such a challenge. Others will laugh at you and bully others. So I will ask you again. In the future, you may become the fourth cage. Do you dare to single out those who lose? Just admit it in front of everyone. It's not as good as the other party. No bets or anything else, it's not good for anyone. While Luo Sha's face was blue, Sasori's mouth curled slightly, which once again challenged him. When Sasori offered not to bet, he took a special look at Yi Kang, and once again showed a mocking smile at Luosha. It is very important whether it was Rosa or Sasori who started the game. Whoever initiates the challenge takes the initiative. I want her. If you lose, she is mine. If you win, she is yours. Sasori's hint immediately caused Luo Sha to turn his attention to Yi Kang, who had always been ugly. The corner of Sasori's mouth ticked, and he was hooked. I originally thought you were a joke, but now you have almost refreshed the lower limit of my 3 views. First, this is my person. Even if I win, it makes no difference. On the contrary, you win and take over. I won't do such a silly beep thing because it's cheap. Or should I get married with my fiancé in the Kingdom of Wind, and I have to ask Master Luosha, who is nothing now? Sasori shook his head, stretched out a finger, and nodded Yi Kang. There is no way that he and Luo Sha cannot establish an equal relationship between the 3. Luo Sha's request for Yi Kang as a bet is basically like what Sasori said, is that Luosha has a unilateral advantage. At the last sentence, Sasori's tone was even a little aggressive, and he even brought up a sneer that made people look like he had hit it again. This is top secret information snatched from the enemy. I lose, and he is yours. I promise that the contents inside are very useful to your puppet clan. Although Rosha was angry, this time she took out a scroll from her arms and handed it directly to Chio's hand. Chio took the scroll, and immediately after unfolding, she showed a surprised look, and then pointed at Sasori. Nodded, confirming the authenticity of this information. Feng Ying showed a ruo wu smile. Luo Sha's current performance is considered to be the performance that satisfies him the most today. This time I came to the puppet clan to satisfy Luo Sha's wish, and at Yi Kang's own request, he pulled Yi Kang into the Sha's house. After Yi Kang took away, Feng Ying was worried that the puppet clan might have lumps in his heart, so he prepared this scroll. To put it bluntly, according to the original plot, this scroll was originally intended to be given to the puppet clan, but now it was taken out by Luo Sha, who pushed the boat along. Then it's second now. Do you have confidence in me? Are you willing to be treated as a bet and participate in this bet on your own gamble? You can refuse. You are my person, not a bet. Sasori flattened his mouth and stopped looking at Luosha. Instead, he turned his gaze to Yekora, who was staring at Luosha a little angrily. His eyes were full of sincerity and perseverance. I don't want to be treated as a bet. Hakura told Sasori the answer without hesitation. Then, Sasori shrugged immediately, ready to refuse Luo Sha's request. But I have faith in you. However, Yi Kang took the original words first, and the eyes staring at Sasori became moved and soft. In Sasori's body, Yi Kang felt his respect for himself, and Luo Sha was Ishin who wanted to get himself, even if it was not done by any means, which made all the good influence Yi Kang had on him over the years collapsed in an instant, gave him a disgusted look, and then silently fought behind Sasori. After witnessing all the changes in Yi Kang's expression, Luo Sha turned pale. Luo Sha suddenly realized something. She seemed to have fallen into a very simple trap. She lost her wife and broke down. The good old man, staring at Sasori's eyes, became even more fierce. He knew that at this point, he had no retreat. When things have reached this point, Sasori can be said to have won. The reason why he deliberately hinted at Luosha after the challenge was because he took the initiative to drag Yi Kang into this bet. Sasori got some information from Chio. Yekora grew up with Luosha. Yekora may not have love for Luosha, but he definitely doesn't hate Luosha, but Luosha's current performance is he completely cut off all the possibilities between Luosha and Yi Kang, and pushed Yi Kang's heart to Sasori's side. Although Sasori occupies Yi Kang's body, he still knows how to unlock more postures with his heart, so he used Luo Sha's hand to push Yi Kang a hand. As for the so-called top-secret information that Luo Sha took the initiative to produce, it was just incidental, and it didn't matter whether it had it or not. I still have something to do, so the challenge is set for 15 days from now, and you choose the place. After completing the plan made by Sasori, Sasori began to use the benefits of initiative. Sasori didn't want to accept Luosha so early. Luosha can take the position of 4th cage in the near future, and his strength is not to boast, so Sasori needs a little time to perfect his puppet. It's here, the martial arts field of the puppet clan. I want to defeat you in front of everyone. Luo Sha has no objection to time. In his opinion, what can he do in 15 days? Isn't Sasori a genius of the puppet clan? He is about to completely defeat Sasori in front of the entire puppet clan. Wait, if you are sick, don't send it away. Yi Kang will come in and take a bath with me. Sasori shrugged, then turned around and pulled Yi Kang into his room. And before Luosha left, there was the sound of tearing clothes and Yi Kang's rapid gasping sound in the room. The reason why Sasori set the time after 15 days is because he still has 2 chances to enter the cabinet for trial in the trial pavilion. After entering the trial pavilion for the first time, Sasori does not want to let go of the next 2. This is a chance for a trial. This is an effective way to greatly increase his strength in a short period of time. After playing with Yekora for a whole day with many poses that can only be played with the cooperation of both parties, Sasori entered the outer cabinet of the trial pavilion, began to read the massive books and the experience of the ancestors, and entered the trial cabinet for the second time. Previously, Sasori dismantled all 3 scarred puppets, replaced them with new materials, and used new techniques to make them again. Although the appearance of the 3 puppets has not changed, they are completely different inside. The second defense was even easier. The Buddha and Lufeng were defeated almost in the blink of an eye, and then Sasori entered the cabinet of the trial pavilion. What will it be this time? After experiencing the real illusion last time, Sasori has understood the general way of operation here, and Sasori will experience what he desperately desires in the next. Previously, Sasori realized that he lacked actual combat experience. When dealing with the enemy, his methods were relatively simple. The real illusion caused Sasori to experience heinous killings. Sasori just killed thousands of talents in the entire valley from the illusion. Came out, and brought a strong murderous look. And now Sasori doesn't even know what he desires, because he wants too much in his heart. The more in-depth study, the more Sasori feels that the path of the puppet master is broader and longer. It's just walking from the muddy trail to the big road that can't be seen. Crow, black ant, Sancho fish. When Sasori was silent, the scene in front of him appeared, and it happened to be the martial arts field outside the trial pavilion. In the next moment, 3 familiar puppets appeared in front of him, and a more familiar figure appeared at the same time. What appeared in front of Sasori turned out to be another Sasori with 3 puppets. Did you beat yourself? It's a bit difficult. After all, I'm so strong. Sasori was slightly surprised. Even though he laughed, he turned a corner and praised himself. He also released the 3 puppets and rushed up first. The one who greeted Sasori was not the puppet, but the dropping ruffian string. It's just that the dropping ruffian string is indeed the Shadow Knight string. The 6 puppets have collided and started the battle, and the Sasori of the illusion also joined the battle like a ninja. The battle entered a fierce battle almost at the beginning. When Sasori came out of the cabinet of the trial cabinet, it was already noon the next day. It happened that many people were reading books and exchange materials in the cabinet. Everyone saw that Sasori, covered in blood and with a terrible smile, appeared in the trial. At the gate of the pavilion, 3 brand new puppets that Sasori had just completed a while ago are by his side, but they are almost scrapped. After seeing Yi Kang, who came after hearing the news, Sasori smiled again, fell straight into Yi Kang's arms and fell asleep. From this drowsiness, Sasori woke up 3 days later. After waking up, Sasori revealed a confident temperament all over his body, and his smile became less cold. And when Sasori woke up, the first thing he saw was Yi Kang. Before Yi Kang had time to speak, Sasori had already laid a spider thread around him, and started a new battle with Yi Kang directly. There is no doubt that Sasori became the master of the 3rd race. The cabinet of this trial has become a crater, and countless people are baking wooden materials and forging metal accessories. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Sasori hasn't figured out how to do this scene by himself. A white robe with a circle embroidered on his heart and a black puppet in the middle appeared in front of Sasori and smiled at Sasori. Monziman. When Sasori raised his brows, he inexplicably jumped out of his mind that this man is the originator of the puppet master, Monziman. It doesn't matter who I am. This is the last time you experience a real fantasy. Time is limited. You just have to watch it. As for how much you can learn, it's up to you. The white-robed old man didn't accept Sasori's words, but beckoned to Sasori, and directly began to refine the puppet. Although Sasori wanted to ask something, he was immediately attracted by the work of the opponent. Sasori stood silently in front of the old man in white robe, watching him make puppets. Neither of them spoke. The scene was quiet and weird. Sasori didn't know how long he had spent. When he came back to his senses, all the illusions had disappeared. Small stone house. In front of him, there is a skeleton, which is exactly the skeleton that has been transformed into a puppet. A large number of exquisite organs are presented on this skeleton. The eyes with the mysterious rays of light have created the true reality of this real illusion. The reason is that he was wearing a torn white robe on his body, and his heart was a black puppet character. Taking a deep look at this ancestor who has not known how many years he has passed away, but is still silently contributing to the puppet clan, Sasori was suddenly full of respect, took a deep breath, and pointed at this puppet who was almost a puppet. His bones bowed, turned and left the stone house. Apart from anything else, the outer cabinet of the trial pavilion brought a lot of resources, so once again borrowed Master Higarashi's forging room. During this period, Chio entered only once, but in the end he left with a weird face. This time, Sasori never came out after entering. It was until the night before the competition with Luasha that Sasori left empty-handed from the workshop, returned to his room, and called Yi Kang. Originally, Yi Kang thought it was another one. After a battle, who knew that Sasori just hugged her and fell asleep. Yi Kang's mood suddenly became very soft at this moment. In this world full of intrigue and betrayal and killing, it is not the first time that Sasori has given himself so relieved to himself. This is an unspeakable touch. Although Yi Kang is an iron-blooded ninja, she is also a young girl, and her heart has been completely conquered by Sasori unknowingly. Early the next morning, Sasori brought Yi Kang to the martial arts field of the Puppet Clan, and Luo Sha stood alone in the center of the martial arts field earlier than them. The martial arts field was surrounded by countless people long ago. Most they are members of the Puppet Clan, and the rest are the elites of the younger generation in the Kingdom of Wind. People in the older generation can hardly see a few, and fourth Cage and Chio can't even see one. The nature of this competition has been declared to the outside world as the friendship between the two most outstanding geniuses of the Sand family and the Puppet Clan on the growth path, and the elders of the two families have tacitly chosen to avoid it. Of course, this doesn't mean that they really didn't show up at the scene, but the place where everyone can't see is watching everything silently. Many families in the Kingdom of Wind are watching this battle silently. They know very well, this battle is likely to affect the future direction of the Sand family and the Puppet family in the Country of Wind. Don't worry, I won't kill you. If you are a man, don't surrender. I will torture you a little bit. Since it was declared to be a friendly match, the form should be sufficient. Luasha and Sasori had already saluted face to face on the field. Luasha's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and she whispered softly with a voice that only Sasori could hear. Why do you think I will definitely lose? Don't worry, I won't kill you. I believe that failure in this kind of situation will make you more painful than killing you. Sasori showed a confident smile. After fighting back against Luo Sha, both parties retreated to their respective positions in the martial arts field after the salute. 5 machines together. The next moment Sasori took the lead, a scroll was pulled, a series of smoke exploded, and Sasori's location was completely wrapped in. When the smoke dissipated, everyone was stunned. There are 5 puppets standing in front of Sasori. That's the spider puppet of the Buddha. Elder Yin Zibiao's Iron Man. The people of the Puppet Clan sounded a series of exclamations. In addition to the 3 puppets that Sasori has been using, there are 2 more puppets besides Sasori. Everyone is no stranger. The Buddha and the Silver Boy are in the puppets, renowned among the clan. It's just that they didn't expect that Sasori would suddenly take out these 2 puppets, but a closer look revealed that these 2 puppets seemed to be quite different from the puppets of the Buddha and Elder Yinzibiao. The 2 puppets are obviously newly made, and many parts have been adjusted. A blood-colored circle appeared on their limbs, and the blood-colored Sasori character was circled in the circle, which showed that these puppets were all made by Sasori. There is a rule in the Puppet Clan that only approved puppet makers are eligible to put their own labels on the puppets. At present, the entire Puppet Clan has this qualification but only 2. And Sasori is the 3rd person. Let me introduce to you the attacking puppet Crow, the catching puppet Black Ant, the defensive puppet Sancho Fish, the assassination puppet Poisonous Spider, the all-around puppet Samurai, the reconnaissance puppet Flying Eagle. Sasori, who released the puppet, did not rush to shoot, but introduced his masterpiece to Luasha with a smile. Reconnaissance puppet Flying Eagle. Where is it? The fact that Sasori established a classification for puppets is already well known to the entire family of puppets, but I did not expect that in just half a month, Sasori would have 3 different types of assassination, almighty and reconnaissance puppet. What's that? A flying puppet. It's the same operation of 6 machines. However, everyone immediately looked back at God. Sasori had only 5 puppets in front of him, and he reported the names of 6 puppets. Where is the scouting puppet, Flying Eagle? Flying Eagle, is it? Many people raised their heads subconsciously, and immediately saw a black spot hovering in the air. The dark shadows hovering in the sky, all of the puppet masters suddenly exclaimed again. Sasori once again refreshed their knowledge of puppets. Simultaneous operation of 6 machines, in the current Puppet Clan, only the core elite can do it. The flying puppet is something that only the legendary ancestor of the puppet Monziman has owned, but this kind of puppet has not been passed down, and the technology has no master. Unexpectedly, Sasori actually reproduced this technique. Unexpectedly, I will see flying puppets in my lifetime. I always thought that this technology would never appear again. Somewhere in the puppet clan, the elders of the puppet clan raised their heads to look at the puppets hovering in the sky, with complex expressions, and even many people left 2 lines of old tears, and many sighed in melancholy. They are all high-level members of the puppet clan, and they all know how strong the ancestor Monziman was when he was in the midst of the storm. It's a pity that Monziman only inherited a part of the stuff. Just this part of the inheritance has already made the entire puppet. The family has stood for so many years. The flying puppet was once a puppet that was comparable to the 10 people of Jinsong, but was submerged in the long river of history. Only a few words were left, and it was unexpected that it appeared in Sasori's hands today. The real illusion will never appear again. Master Higurashi sighed and told everyone a bad news. As the remnant soul of the patriarch exhausted, I believe the patriarch can finally rest in peace. After waiting for so many years, he finally found an heir. All the elders have been mentally prepared. Each of them has entered the trial cabinet, and they are very clear about the meaning of the existence of real illusions. The real illusion may be a boon for the puppet clan, but it is a cage for Monziman. Although Monziman died, he transformed himself into a half-puppet existence, and his remnant soul was lodged in the mechanism of the eyes, in order to select someone who could inherit his mantle. After so many years, there has been no people can be selected, and the appearance of flying puppets also shows that Monziman has released the last trace of the power of the remnant soul, and has passed everything to Sasori. Although the real illusion disappeared, another Monziman was created. Chio's previous proposal, I seconded. Suddenly, one of the elders suddenly proposed a second argument, and everyone looked at each other and nodded. The resolution proposed by Chio not long ago was passed unanimously. Sasori will become the next patriarch of the puppet clan. No matter how strong the puppet is in front of me, it won't work. The fine sand can jam all the moving joints of the puppet. Luo Sha in the martial arts field was also a little surprised. Sasori actually had a flying puppet, but he didn't know what the flying puppet represented. When Luo Sha stretched out his hand, a piece of golden sand gradually floated on the whole martial arts field. Sasori's puppet is already covered by golden sand. Spider secret skill spider nest. Luo Sha shot. Sasori no longer wasted time immediately. The puppets in front of Sasori scattered one after another. Even the defensive Sancho fish also rushed to Luo Sha. The first shot was the assassination-type poisonous spider. The poisonous spider's abdomen surged and rotated at high speed, and immediately countless sticky silk threads were sprayed out. The whole martial arts field was sprayed everywhere, and there were countless puppet spiders the size of a baby's fist. Blasting spider. Sasori snapped his fingers, and the dense puppet spiders lowered their feet, ejected from the spot, and landed over the place where Luo Sha was. Small bugs, golden sand shield. Luo Sha smiled disdainfully, and immediately wrapped him up with countless golden sands. The little puppet spiders exploded one after another, but they couldn't shake the golden sand shield, and colorful venom was flowing everywhere. When Luo Sha reappeared from the golden sand shield, Sasori was no longer visible. Magnet-style golden world, golden sand clone. Luo Sha's hands quickly formed seals, and the golden sand suspended in midair suddenly spread like smoke. 5 golden Luasha drilled out of the ground and collided with Sasori's 5 puppets. Fighting, and at the same time, like Sasori, he gradually disappeared in the golden sand. Although the poisonous spider is an assassination-type puppet, its spider silk also has the function of detection. Coupled with the detection ability of the flying eagle, the sand hiding technique is not very useful for me. 5 color strings. Suddenly, the 6-bladed arms of Sasori's crow popped out and pierced into the void not far away, but the 6 blades hovered for a long time, and the first half of the blade disappeared in the golden sand, immediately revealed Losa was hit, and Sasori himself also appeared behind Luasha, with 5 fingers, pulled towards the back of Luasha's neck, and instantly Luasha's head was cut off by 5 color strings. It's just that Losha, whose head was cut off by Sasori, turned into golden sand in an instant and scattered, and the Losha that hit was just a sand clone. At the same time as he succeeded, the golden sand surging behind Sasori, Luo Sha appeared from behind Sasori. Jinsha, guide. The golden sand formed a big hand and grabbed the exhausted hand. Luo Sha sneered and squeezed exhausted. Do you think I would be fooled if I put a clone here? How can the flying puppet send the information detected? It's not just your puppet who can detect. Ninjutsu is the great way. Your true body is here. Jinsha Ni, 787, is going to rain. However, Luo Sha was not at all complacent, and the squeezed Sasori did not shed the slightest blood. Turning his eyes to the flying eagle hovering in the sky, 5 eyes made of golden sand appeared in the midair, and the 4 were separated. It is arranged at the 4 corners of the martial arts field, and the other one is in the center of the martial arts field. Luo Sha stretched her hand towards the sky and shouted angrily, and then a torrential rain made of golden sand soared into the sky. It was like a reverse torrential rain covering the sky. Although the flying eagle in the sky wanted to dodge, the speed of the golden sand was too fast and too dense, and it was submerged by the rainstorm of golden sand in a blink of an eye. When the golden sand bombarded the flying eagle puppet, there was a series of explosive noises. The next moment the flying eagle was caught, the wreck fell down, and as Luo Sha said, as the flying eagle was hit, all the puppets on the martial arts field suddenly stopped, and they were hit hard by Sha's clone. Sand guide. Luo Sha's hands kept moving, holding his hands against the flying eagle in the sky, and the golden sand kept rushing towards the flying eagle, but before the golden sands merged with the city, the golden sand exploded and flew quickly. The eagle sprang out and landed steadily, moving his hands together, and the puppets who were being attacked started to move again and returned to Sasori's side. Unexpectedly, you discovered what I was hiding so concealed, so it's really fun. Sasori patted the golden sand on her body and smiled at Luasha. The 5 puppets around him had already appeared to be damaged, and the golden sand of Luasha had invaded their joints, and the manipulation was not so handy anymore. Immediately Xie was about to activate the killer's mace, pulled his hands, and suddenly 6 sharp blades drilled underground, piercing the chasing sand avatar, and another crow appeared behind Luasha. His eyes widened, and he shot 2 poisonous needles. It's just that Luasha dodges the past in time, moving fast again and again, and Luasha quickly seals again. There are actually 2 crows. 7 machines together. Everyone was not surprised by Luo Sha's movements, but was shocked by the crow that suddenly appeared. This is not the crow beside me. It is another crow, the 7th puppet of the mother. From 6 sharp blades, stretched out from different positions. When I came out to see, this crow had obviously been in ambush underground for a long time. It might even have been planted in the ground as soon as it appeared. Then it's not 6 machines at the same time. It's 7 machines. Samurai, there are also 2. They are all 8 fighters. The shock of everyone was not over. Suddenly Luasha's direction exploded again, and the tall almighty puppet warrior appeared in front of Luasha. The shield in his hand slapped Luasha fiercely, and the long knife in the other hand also closed behind. The 8th puppet. There was a warrior in front, and a crow chasing after him. Luo Sha dodged again, and his hands kept getting imprinted. The ability to keep Luo Sha imprinting for so long was obviously a lore. However, Luasha's evasion direction suddenly exploded for the 3rd time, and the black ant opened his abdomen and directly loaded Luasha in. There are also 2 black ants. 9 machines. The 9th puppet. The entire puppet clan is excited. Except for the inexperienced elders, the strongest elite of the entire puppet clan is only the strength of the 9 fighters. Are you capable of traveling with your machine? At the same time, everyone's hearts are a little anticipating the appearance of the 10th puppet. Once he has the ability to walk with 10 machines, then he can at least become an elder. The youngest elder in the history of the puppet clan, maybe he still has the chance to inherit the 10 people from Jinsong everyone. Become the next patriarch. Black secret skills, 1 shot. However, everyone's expectations were obviously lost. Sasori did not pull out the 10th puppet, but pulled it with both hands. The sharp blades of the crow and the black ant pierced the black ant's abdomen, and the samurai's long knife was also cut off. In case of accidents, make up the knife in time. Magnet style, Jinsha waves. But seeing the exhaustion attack is about to be implemented, a roar suddenly came from the black ant's abdomen. The next moment the black ant exploded directly, and countless golden sand waves rushed out of the black ant's abdomen. Magnet style, Jinsha waves. The golden sand wave covered the entire martial arts field with a huge wave. It submerged the crows and the samurai in an instant, and it was accurately even attacked by a few miles. This move is beyond the scope of normal ninjutsu. This it is the magnet style of blood succession boundary that Luasha inherited from third Kage. It is powerful. Sasori and his puppets were swallowed by the golden sand waves in an instant. Not to mention Sasori, even the surrounding audience, if not countless Anbu appeared in time to take them away, they have been swallowed by the sand waves now. Do you think I can't find you if I hide in the ground? Magnet style, gold dust burial. It took a long time for Sha Lang to calm down. Luo Sha adjusted his breathing and sneered. When he shot down the flying eagle before, his golden sand had already stuck to Sasori's body, and Sasori's whereabouts could not escape his perception. And Jin Sha in the waves, Luo Sha still couldn't feel the existence of blood, only a few puppets existed. Luo Sha had just sealed the seal for so long, but it was not really one ninjutsu. It was two. She immediately slapped her palms on the ground. The whole earth began to vibrate, and the golden sandy ground was surging continuously, engulfing everything on the ground, except for a small area where the trial pavilion was located, and the surrounding buildings were constantly sinking. If it weren't for the puppet clan, the reaction was swift, and he teamed up in time to open the enchantment. I am afraid that the core territory of the entire puppet clan will be devastated. Hoo. I won. The earth's shaking was not over yet. Luo Sha stepped on the golden sand and hovered in the air, panting heavily. Even after he used 2 consecutive magnetic fluxes, he seemed a bit exhausted. But Luo Sha's eyes were indeed full of excitement, because he already felt that the golden sand he had attached to his body had been fused with other golden sand, which meant that Sasori, who used earth style to hide in the ground, had been killed. That's right. Rosha didn't plan to let Sasori survive from the beginning. Ishin wanted to kill Sasori. I'm really sorry, Luo Sha still can't control the power of magnet style. He is indeed a genius of the puppet family. He can control 9 puppets at the same time, and he is almost able to control the nearly 10 people in Song Dynasty. After Feng Ying stopped the area of Jinsha's big funeral, he smiled at Chio beside him. First, a symbolic apologize, Feng Ying began to praise Sasori, but looking at his expression, he was a little proud. The implication is obvious, your grandson is indeed a genius, but my son defeated your grandson and is a more genius existence than your grandson. And he did not mention the killing of Sasori at all, but his eyes are always on with Chio. As long as Chio has a change, he will immediately kill Chio. The puppet clan has become more and more influential in the Kingdom of the Wind in recent years, and even many people have penetrated into the high levels of the Kingdom of the Wind, just like Chio's younger brother Ebizo. If they want to do something, it is a breeze. The reason why Feng Ying agreed with Luo Sha to kill Sasori is to test the puppet clan, and he is also ready to start with the puppet clan. In the puppet clan, he has arranged manpower. There are also a large number of people outside the puppet clan. Anbu, who is loyal to Fukage, stands by at any time. Moreover, the true elite of the puppet clan has been dispatched by various tasks not long ago. It can be said that the current puppet clan is the weakest time. As long as Feng Ying gives an order, he can enter the puppet clan. But Feng Ying now needs 1,000 generations. Do it first. He doesn't want to be left behind by other families. Killing Sasori and forcing Chio to take action, this is the opportunity for Feng Ying to prepare. The Kingdom of Wind, which just ended World War II, needs not a powerful family of puppets but a controlled family of puppets. Just like the puppets in their hands, the disobedient puppets should be replaced. The puppet family is shown in World War II. The strength that came out made Feng Ying feel deeply jealous. Luo Sha is the real genius of the Sha family, and his magnetic flux is slightly worse than yours, Li's, and the golden sand looks more gorgeous than your iron sand. Chio just smiled calmly, as if the ones killed were not the same, the ones that were destroyed were not the territory of the puppet clan, and did not refute Feng Ying's words but followed his words. Feng Ying frowned. It was not that he had never thought that Chi and I chose to compromise, but it was definitely not something so calm and smiling. He immediately realized something and suddenly turned his gaze to the martial arts field that has turned into a desert. Sure enough, behind Luo Sha suspended in the air, a shadow suddenly appeared. Suddenly, behind Luo Sha, who was suspended in the air, a rapidly flying shadow appeared. Spider's web wall, dropping ruffian string, single line shotgun. Immediately a huge wire net appeared behind Luasha. Although Luosha reacted, the range of the wire net was too large, and Luosha was suddenly wrapped in it, even using the spider's web wall that was originally used as a defense. Come catch Luosha. Exhausted movements continued. Pulling down with the left hand, several transparent silk threads fell from the sky, piercing Luosha's body longitudinally, and at the same time, the 5 fingers of the right hand were widened, aiming at Luosha's body, and countless silk threads shot out from the fingertips. Shot through Luosha's body longitudinally. Spider secret skill toxin spread. A puppet spider came out from under the prostitute's robe, and the 2 forefoot were placed on the line of Sasori's hands. The green venom immediately followed the silk thread and entered Luosha's body. Luosha's shocked expression moments solidified on her face, and she sat down straight. People who use the same tricks repeatedly are fools. If the puppet master's fighting style is not varied enough, then death is waiting for him. A puppet master who will not reveal his true body is a good puppet master. You lose. Sasori took a deep breath, and using string fruit's ability continuously for a short period of time made Sasori's physical strength a little too much. He looked down at Luosha's figure and showed a smile. The tactics used to hide the real body so far have changed several times in a row, and none of them are repeated, and this time it is the same. Under Mom's feet is another flying eagle. The 10th puppet. 10 machines go together. When everyone looked at the battlefield again, only the dragon standing on the flying puppet was left in midair, and the puppet at Sasori's feet was intact, and his body was not damaged at all. Obviously, he was exposed to magnetic flux before. The swallowed Sasori is simply fake. The real Sasori has been controlling this flying puppet to hide in the sky and control other puppets to fight. This means that Sasori is controlling 10 puppets to fight. Mom is already able to control Jinsong 10 people. I originally planned to let him use Jinsong 10 people to fight, but he refused. He said that it was not a puppet made by himself and he would not use it. Feng Ying rushed out when Luosha fell. Chio cast his gaze into the air with a relieved smile, and answered Feng Ying's question just now, who could not hear the answer. After Chio discovered that the real illusion of the trial cabinet disappeared, she immediately found Sasori, who created a new puppet in the Master Nippon's forging room. After getting the affirmative answer, Chio handed the nearly Songshi people to Sasori. However, after using it, nearly Songshi people returned to Chio. In terms of words, although these 10 puppets are good, they have no room for improvement. Children who are not grown up don't want them. The most important thing is that these 10 puppets are not easy to use. Sure enough, there is a genius in the puppet clan. This time we lost. Before Luosha fell to the ground, Feng Ying successfully caught Luosha and avoided the tragedy of his death. After checking Luosha's condition, Feng Ying breathed a sigh of relief. It was obvious that she had left her hand. The body that was pierced was not injured. The toxin injected into the body was not a deadly toxin, but a powerful nerve. Paralyzed toxins. Turning her gaze to Sasori in midair, Feng Ying's face showed a bright smile, and Feng Ying's confidants understood that this was Feng Ying's real murderous performance. It's all about the competition between the children, don't take it to heart, Master Feng Ying. Chio stood up and keenly heard Feng Ying's implication. He did not say that Luosha lost, but used the word as, the corresponding is you, refer to the puppet family and the Sha families. This in one confrontation, the Sand family lost, and he is not willing to give up. Obviously there will be another confrontation. Farewell. Feng Ying didn't speak, and stood there silently. A weird and killing aura began to diffuse. For a long time, Feng Ying nodded at Qiandai, and then took Luosha and left the resident of the puppet clan directly. Out of many considerations, Feng Ying finally gave up on attacking the puppet clan forcefully. Fortunately, there is no way to kill, otherwise today's things may not be so simple. Notify the person who has the task, and tell them to be careful. Chio looked at the distant Feng Ying, frowning. She already smelled the unusual smell of this incident. Ebizo appeared next to Chio, was silent for a moment, and then said, "The plan I proposed. Don't think about it, the puppet clan can continue to this day. The Sha family has paid a lot of people. You know better than me. As long as the Sha family doesn't really attack us, we will not replace them. Take it as a temper, what this era needs is the elite." It's just that Chio rejected Ebizo's proposal without hesitation. The red-haired man was the puppeteer who was directly promoted to Jonin just now, and even the elite Jonin who was responsible for the assessment was easily defeated by him. That's from the Puppet Clan. Soon on duty, he defeated Master Fengying's son, Luo Sha, the genius of magnet style. I heard that he has been designated as the next patriarch of the Puppet Clan. On the streets of Sunagakur, prostitutes and Yikang walked out of the ninja examination center, and immediately countless people cast awe in awe. The age of this world does not represent anything, only strength is the real respectable thing. Rumors about exhaustion have spread throughout the country of the wind in just a few days, and even the name of Sasori has begun to appear in the intelligence manuals of other countries. You have just become a Jonin and have to complete the A-level mission. It is obvious that the above is deliberately making things difficult for you. Neither Sasori nor Yi Kang paid attention to the gazes of others around him. Yi Kang was full of anger. Just when he just completed the Jonin assessment, he suddenly received an A-level support mission. This is a deliberate finding. Although Sasori passed Jonin's assessment, he shouldn't have received such a high-level task at the same time he got the forehead protector. And what was even more exaggerated was that Yi Kang was actually assigned other tasks, and the two couldn't act together at all. Fighting is the only way to become stronger. The harder the task, the more you will feel it. Be careful yourself. Sasori didn't care at all, put the forehead protector in his pocket, smiled at Yi Kang, and walked to the meeting place. His task is not to be completed by himself, but to act with the other two Jonin to go to the country of birds sandwiched between the country of soil and the country of wind to carry out the support task. What is the specific support? The task does not specify. Resting in place, there is still half an hour's journey to enter the border of the bird country. Although the bird country is a small country, it actually wears a pair of trousers with the soil country. Save your energy and be careful to ambush. Yin Hong and Sante were on the mission with Mom. Both of them are veteran Jonin. This time it is Yin Hong who leads the team. Because of their elder qualifications, even if they wear one on their heads. The two of them still regarded him as a junior. When there was still a considerable distance from the bird country, Yin Hong found a hidden place to rest, and was afraid of not knowing the situation, and explained. They are already here, 3 on the left and 2 on the right. I am on the left. Only when Yin Hong had just spoken, he directly released the crow and the samurai, and rushed straight to the stone forest tens of meters to the left. The 3 rock shinobi who were using rock shinobi were shocked immediately, and they rushed to fight together, who unexpectedly, I would do it without any signs. Fortunately, Mom took the lead in detecting rock shinobi's action, and shared most of the pressure with 1 to 3, and there were only 2 Jonin in the action, and all the others were Chunin. Rock shinobi is actually active in our territory. Do they want to go to war? The battle soon ended, and the 3 immediately discovered that these people were all rock shinobi from the land of the earth. There was still a long distance from the border of the land of birds. They did not expect that rock shinobi had invaded the interior of the land of the wind. There is a very bad premonition. Instead, he kept injecting various medicines on a Jonin who had fallen into paralysis. After several medicines, this rock shinobi's eyes had become very confused and unconscious. Why did rock shinobi enter the territory of the Kingdom of Wind? The S-class defector ninja of the land has entered the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. We have been ordered to capture the defected ninja and are conducting a search mission. Sasori immediately began interrogation. After several potions took effect on this rock shinobi, they produced a psychedelic-like effect. His consciousness had begun to blur, and he instinctively trusted the person in front of him. Rock shinobi's eyes were in a trance. After a while, he explained the reason for their presence here. Who is the defected ninja? Why did he defect? The answer given by rock shinobi made everyone stunned. What kind of rebel needs to send so many people to search? Is it because they came to support it also related to this rebel? Especially, Jonin Kuroiwa, I heard that he secretly conducted a taboo experiment. Why exactly where? We only know that we have entered the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. Continue to ask a few questions. This rock shinobi has started bleeding from 7 holes. Although the medicine used is easy to use, but the shortcomings are also obvious. It will cause permanent damage to the human cerebral cortex, and soon brain tissue will be damaged, die. After failing to obtain more information, he gave him a good time, and immediately continued to advance in the direction of the Bird Kingdom, and at the same time released the Flying Eagle. Chapter 51. There are people fighting in the northwest. It should be the object we need to support. On the border of the Kingdom of Birds and the Kingdom of Wind, through Flying Eagles, it was quickly discovered that there were two waves of people fighting. One of them was the ninja of the Kingdom of Wind in terms of costumes, and should be the target of their mission. The three immediately stopped hesitating and rushed over at the fastest speed. The two waves of people fighting were more than mixed offensive troops of the Country of Birds and the Country of Soil and 7 defensive troops of the Country of Wind. 6 ninjas from Japan were carefully guarding the 3 injured rock shinobi as they retreated from the battle and fell into the wind. Yin Hong, take Mr. Heian first. The treason of the land of the land. Jonin on the side of the Country of the Wind immediately drank excitedly when he saw Yin Hong and the 3 of them. Although 3 Jonin came to support, but the enemy has a large number of people, they have to take care of the safety of the personnel behind them, and they can't let go. As soon as I heard that it was the rebel of the land, and confirmed that it was indeed the target of support, the 3 did not obey the cover and evacuation task of the leader of the Wind Country, but joined the battle without hesitation, and there were 3 Jonin. His participation in the battle is undoubtedly a powerful force, not to mention the existence of a bug like Sasori, only a dozen ninjas of average strength, less than a minute after the shot, more than a dozen birds of the country and the land the ninjas of the country turned into corpses one after another. Fortunately, you are here in time, otherwise this mission will fail. This is the genius of the Puppet Clan who has been in the limelight recently. The leader of Sand Shinobi was excited this time, and the gaze staring at Sasori was full of surprises. The battle just now can be said to be like entering an uninhabited state. Even if the fighting power of the 2 puppets is not as good as he immediately guessed the identity of Sasori. You scammers, let me go. You don't want to get any information from me. But before everyone could say a few words, Heian, who was protected by the people of the land of the Country of Rebellion, began to roar. Heian is a middle-aged uncle who looks very ordinary. He is surrounded by men, 1 woman, and 1 or 2 young men, assistant. Unlike Heian's anger, the 2 assistants were constantly shaking, terribly scared. Heian and his 2 assistants were obviously sealed or poisoned, and they couldn't play their combat power at all. It was more appropriate to arrest them than to cover them. Let him shut up. Let's go, our whereabouts have been exposed, someone will come soon, and we must leave as soon as possible. Chief Sand Shinobi glanced sideways at Black Rock and his 2 assistants and sneered, and immediately after identifying the direction, he took everyone away for the first time. How is this going? Sasori quickly followed, but he started talking to the youngest-looking ninja, and Kuroiwa's state was obviously not right. That rock shinobi asked us for asylum not long ago, but after meeting he chatted with the leader for a few words and then he kept scolding, but I heard that the leader had not done what the leader promised him at the beginning, and I don't know what it is. What ability does Black Rock have? We have been chased by rock shinobi these days. This sand shinobi didn't expect to talk to him, but the strength he showed just now still made him admire, so he answered Sasori's question truthfully. There is very bad news to tell you. We are surrounded, and the enemy came from underground, so I didn't find it. Sand Shinobi has just finished speaking, but he hastened his pace and stood in front of the leader Sand Shinobi with a calm expression. In the next moment, countless ninjas with Rock Shinobi forehead protector appeared around everyone. Looking around, there were about 450 people. How come there are so many people? The leader of Sand Shinobi was completely dumbfounded. Although he expected that there would be chasing soldiers, he did not expect that there would be so many people. Rock Shinobi obviously didn't intend to talk nonsense with Sand Shinobi, and immediately launched an attack from all directions. Almost instantly, a few Sand Shinobi of average strength were killed, and only a few Jonin were struggling to support them, but obviously they could not last long. Only Sasori was like a reef in the sea, with the cover of a few puppets. I won several Rock Shinobi, but the poisonous spider who fought Wang Zhao on the most suitable battlefield did not appear. Suddenly, 2 poisonous spiders suddenly emerged from 2 very fast positions on the battlefield. As soon as countless small poisonous spiders and cobwebs appeared, they splashed out of the huge abdomen, almost all the Rock Shinobi. In the next moment, all the small poisonous spiders exploded, and all the Rock Shinobi were attacked in an instant. The poisonous spiders were dispatched a long time ago, but he controlled the two poisonous spiders to spend a little time in choosing where to appear. Master Tsuchikage has an order. Can't let them get Black Rock. Kill. When the leader of Rock Shinobi saw that the situation was not right, he roared immediately and turned his gaze to Black Rock, who hadn't touched them. Hungry. Sasori's poisonous spider was accompanied by a powerful paralyzing poisonous mist. The poisonous spider that covered the entire battlefield detonated, and everyone swallowed the poisonous mist in an instant. When the Rock Shinobi realized that something was wrong, he immediately issued an order to kill Black Rock, but this order issued two samurai puppets and Sancho Fish appeared beside the Black Rock trio, and Mom began to control the crow and began to sweep the entire battlefield. The poisoned Rock Shinobi's combat power has dropped, and it can't stand Sasori's slaughter at all. String Fruit and the exhausted puppet are like two Shinigami on the battlefield, one can be seen, the other is invisible, and they are harvesting quickly the lives of all enemies. In the end, Rock Shinobi including Chief Rock Shinobi died. Almost all of them were poisoned by poisonous spiders. After losing their ability to move, they were killed by Sasori's line or pierced by a crow's blade. I'm sorry, your injury is too serious, I can't save you. Although Ji has made the fastest shot, after the battle, including Yin Hong and Sante who came with him, he has been killed by Rock Shinobi. Only the leader of Sand Shinobi is still there, but the abdomen was fatally wounded, and the organs had been completely destroyed, and there was no way. Be sure to take Heian back, he has. The leader of Sand Shinobi is obviously aware of this. At the last moment of his life, he is still considering this mission. In his mind, the value of Black Rock is higher than himself. Kill me. I won't give you the results of the experiment. You crooks. You didn't save my family and those innocent subjects at all. Cough. Sasori was originally not so interested in the things on Black Rock, but the leader of Sand Shinobi remembered it before he died. Rock Shinobi sent so many people to look for him, which made Mom suddenly a little curious. Something went out. Only when he turned his gaze to Black Rock began to roar again. This time Ishin begged to die, and suddenly coughed up a mouthful of dark red blood. Even if I don't kill you, you won't be able to live long. There are too many toxins in your body. Do you often experiment with yourself? Sasori took a look at Heian up and down, and immediately found that Heian was actually very sick, and most of his functions had been destroyed. Judging from the blood alone, he has at least a dozen different poisons. Although there are not many toxins in each poison, after they are superimposed on each other, it is not something that ordinary people can bear. Except for being an idiot, it is impossible to get such a poison. Many poisons are not found, it is associated with Heian's identity, so there is only one possibility, that is, he even tried to poison himself, and this left so many traces of toxins. If it wasn't for those people who used my family to force me, I would never experiment with those innocent ninjas. It seemed that he was thinking of something, and Heian's complexion immediately became even more ugly. The reason why he used himself to test the poison was to make his conscience better. Although I don't know what kind of experiment you did, your act of asking Sand Shinobi for help is really stupid. Tell me about the results of the experiment. After checking Black Rock's physical condition, Sasori found that he could not support it for long, and he couldn't insist on returning to Sunagakur. After thinking about his experiment, he suddenly showed a weird smile, and he was satisfied. Little curiosity. Liar. I won't tell you. Heian's attitude was very firm, staring at Sasori fiercely. I didn't intend to let you cooperate, so I just told me. Sasori smiled indifferently, and immediately took out the medicine from the scroll again and injected it into Kuroiwa's body. Pharmaceuticals. Do you think that using potions to force a confession will make me commit the crime? Stop laughing. Huh, my body. Heian raised his eyebrows and sneered. He hadn't been born when he was playing with the potion. It was just that before he was ridiculed, his body suddenly stood up uncontrollably, and picked up a short blade of the enemy. Walked to his assistant. Instructor Black Rock, you, Heian's two assistants were also unable to move. Heian, who was holding a sharp blade, walked up to the male assistant, and in the horrified eyes of the other party, directly pierced the sharp blade into his arm. The miserable howling sounded from the male assistant's mouth. What do you want? Heian's body trembled, but he couldn't control his body, and quickly pulled out the short blade from the assistant's arm, and then inserted another knife into his lower abdomen. It's easier to take one person back than to take 3 people back. Anyway, you are the person above. I don't want to take these 2 people, so I took your hand and killed them. Sasori used the parasite string to control BlackRock's continuous creation of wounds that were not fatal, but would cause him extremely painful wounds, explaining over and over again. Sasori never mentioned anything about the experimental information. He has been manipulating BlackRock to use a sharp blade to make wounds on the assistant's body. The male assistant has become a blood man. But gradually he closed his mouth, closed his eyes tightly, his expression was full of anger, and silently endured all this. Since you should be very clear that this is the last cut. After 10 consecutive knives, the assistant was almost dead. Sasori controlled the BlackRock to push the sharp blade against the assistant's heart. There was no opening. At this time, he finally opened his mouth indifferently. The next moment the BlackRock began to move. The blade was different from the previous quick drawing, began to slowly enter his skin a little bit. Death came a little bit, and the dying assistant suddenly started yelling frantically, "Tutor! Stop it! Give him things! Old BlackRock, stop!" At the boundary of life and death, the assistant finally lost all his courage, and his spirit collapsed completely. "I won't tell you any information. Death is not terrible, Soren. Face death. It's just that Heian was determined to keep the secret." His face roared in pain, and the next moment he sneered and hooked his fingers, and the sharp blade in Heian's hand quickly pierced the assistant's heart. "What?" The assistant let out a miserable cry and stared at Heian with his eyes full of fear, anger and dissatisfaction with Heian. When Heian, who was originally determined, saw this look in his eyes, he couldn't help but shed 2 lines of turbid tears, and the scenes between his assistant and his assistant were replayed. His heart struggled, and he couldn't help but shake. "Is your decision really right? How did it feel to kill your assistant with your own hands? You devil, I won't let you go if I'm a ghost." Sasori murmured at Heian with an arc full of ridicule. Even if Zahn controlled Heian to stand up, he would get a vicious curse from Heian. "Female assistant, how should I play?" Sasori shrugged indifferently. "If the curse is useful, then everyone doesn't need to practice, just stay at home and curse the enemy every day." Turning his gaze to the 3rd living person on the field, the other female assistant next to Kuroiwa, Sasori raised the female assistant's chin with his fingers, and looked at her up and down playfully, carefully speaking, the assistant looks pretty good looking and has a good figure. Sasori's fingers are just a hook, and the assistant's robe is torn apart. No, I beg you. Are you still not a human being? Where is your conscience?" The female assistant's exclamation and Heian's curse sounded again, and the 2 seemed to have guessed what was about to happen next. "Omit, Teacher BlackRock, save me. By the way, didn't you just ask what I gave you the injection? Stop it. Feeling already. Mom's face is full." In the end, BlackRock still chose conscience between conscience and secret, otherwise he would not give up the taboo human test and escaped from the laboratory with his assistant. "No problem, go in that direction. There is the border between the country of birds and the country of ancient times. It belongs to the 3 regardless zone. If you are lucky, you can still survive. I suggest you disguise yourself as a man before you go." Sasori was also unusually refreshed. He directly separated the female assistant and BlackRock, and with a finger hook, the black cloak that was originally draped on the crow was directly draped on the female assistant, and he quickly recognized the direction and gave the female assistant. He gave a clear path, and also gave suggestions. After the female assistant regained her freedom, she swiftly pointed out the direction to Sasori and fled without hesitation. She has not come to appreciate Heian's thoughts, and only fear is left in her heart. "You can say it, but if you want to lie to me, or if you regret it, I will go and catch her again." Sasori was not in a hurry. Until the female assistant disappeared from the sight of the 2 of them, he reminded BlackRock. "I am a medical ninja in the land of the land. The high levels of the land asked me to carry out the experiment that is immortal. I didn't know at first. When I wanted to quit, all my relatives had been arrested. Get up. In desperation, I can only continue to experiment." Heian took a deep breath. Although he knows that the female assistant is still dangerous to move along the border alone, it is better than being ruined by himself and dying in his own hands. It makes him more comfortable. Exhausted. "You made it." As soon as he heard about the experiment of being immortal, Sasori's brows suddenly raised. There are many people who pursue this ninjutsu, but no one has ever really succeeded. Could it be that Black Rock has succeeded? I failed, but I succeeded on the other hand. I developed a taboo ninjutsu. Although I failed, I heard that the members of the other branches succeeded, but they defected and they just sought your asylum. That's why I found you. I didn't expect you to lie to me. I want to know how are the members of the other branches. Heian shook his head. If the immortal ninjutsu is really so easy to complete, then the world has long been dominated by the older generation of ninjas. He is just researching and developing a forbidden technique. At the same time, Heian also explained why he would seek refuge in the Kingdom of Wind. Then I don't know. I'm just a soy saucer. It's impossible for me to know this kind of secret. What kind of ninjutsu have you developed? The whole country of Tuji takes you so much. Heian's words immediately made the prostitute's heart bright. He immediately thought of the scroll of taboo that Luo Sha handed to the puppet clan before. It seems that this scroll is from the land of the earth. Although exhausted mentally understood, there was still no change on the surface, and it was natural to turn the topic to the forbidden technique developed by Heian. This is detailed research data. This forbidden technique is actually only a preliminary success, and it has great development value. Now it has the memory, thinking and judgment that affects people, and even can finally control the thoughts of others. To the point, you only need to cast the spell on this part of your head to be successful, just like this. Wang Zhao. Heian raised his arm, and there was an inconspicuous seal on the inside of his arm. Heian lifted the seal, took out a scroll the size of a thumb from it, opened it and handed it to Sasori's hand. Sasori subconsciously began to study the text on the scroll. Just when he was looking at it with gusto, Kuroiwa suddenly stretched out a finger and tapped it at the center of Sasori's forehead. In Sasori's skin. Sasori immediately showed a pained expression and fell to the ground. Although I am a medical ninja, I am also a ninja. Your medicine is very useful. Without the medicine you injected me, I can't even complete this sneak attack. You and me die here. The scroll that Kuroiwa gave to Sasori is real, and only the real scroll can attract exhausted attention and give him the opportunity to take advantage of it. Kuroiwa with a grinning smile once again waved the sharp blade in his hand and stabbed Sasori's back, and Sasori gave him an injection. The medicine not only allowed him to regain his power, but also restored part of his body's vitality. This completed the sneak attack. But when Heian was about to make the second sword, Mom's body suddenly turned into countless threads and scattered. It was obvious that the person he had just hit was not a real person. I'm a puppet master, I don't need to expose my real body to others so easily. It's terrible ninjutsu, thank you for the information. Before Black Rock came back to his senses, his body lost control again, and the scroll that had fallen on the ground automatically flew up and fell on Ma's hand. By the way, the medical ninjas you mentioned before who completed the experiment of immortality, their experiments were actually not successful, they just got a little breakthrough. Putting the scrolls away, Sasori showed a smile at Kuroiwa, and suddenly thought of the medical ninjas Kuroiwa had said about seeking refuge in the Kingdom of Wind. They have allowed the corpse to perfectly retain the state it was in before they were alive, including chakra and blood succession limits. If they have not verified their own experimental results with their own bodies, they are continuing their experiments. Although I am not optimistic about these experiments, some people I firmly believe that the experiment will be successful one day, and then these living corpses will be resurrected. In any case, this is a hope for resurrection, and people always look forward to this out of reach. In fact, the medical ninjas' undead ninjutsu did not succeed but like Kuroiwa, they failed and gained some other things at the same time. They successfully activated the corpse and could save it forever. The scroll that Luo Sha handed over to the golems for the taboo was the result of another medical ninja team in the country of the earth. Third Cage also carried out the secret taboo experiment in the country of the wind after getting this scroll, and saw this forbidden technique may be a new way out for the puppet clan, so the scroll was handed over to the puppet clan. Of course, Feng Ying does not want to see the puppet clan continue to grow. The reason why he gave the scroll to the puppet clan has a deeper meaning in it, using the taboo experiment as a threat to force the puppet clan to become the real Sha clan, puppet. Let you also feel the results of your partner's experiment. Regardless of the purpose of the wind and rain, in the end this forbidden technique was still used by the Sasori master, and at this moment Sasori began to use it for the first time. You unexpectedly. Kuroiwa stared at Sasori's movements in horror, but before he could finish speaking, he closed his mouth directly. Kuroiwa did not expect that while he deceived Sasori, Jia would deceive him, but Jia succeeded, and he failed. By the way, because you attacked me just now, our previous agreement was invalidated. Sasori, who was undergoing tentative experiments, seemed to suddenly remember something, and suddenly snapped his fingers into the air casually. The next moment there was a sudden explosion sound from afar away. A small puppet poisonous spider exploded from the crow's robe, and even the female assistant who had escaped was blown to pieces. Heian realized something. 2 lines of tears slid down, but soon his consciousness began to blur, and eventually he completely lost consciousness. It turns out that the taboo experiment is so interesting. Quote, the first time he tried, he looked at Heian's living corpse with satisfaction and showed a look of interest. In the distance, the follow-up support troops of the Kingdom of Wind have arrived, but they just saw the battlefield vaguely. Countless small poisonous spiders exploded, blowing up the entire battlefield into a mess, including the male assistant who was killed by Black Rock. The entire battlefield had long been dead. You guys are a little late. With a smile on his face, Sasori put Kuroiwa's body into the body of the black ant, and then passed by everyone and walked in the direction of Sunagakur. Why don't you let people go? In Sunagakur Anbu's office, Yi Kang, who had just returned from the mission, was full of frost. When she came back, she heard that there was a problem with Mom's mission. Although it was completed, she was caught by Anbu when she returned to the village to hand in the mission. It's stuck inside, and it hasn't come out until now, and everyone has let you see it. It's like dealing with Renan. Let me in. The prostitution was blocked in Anbu, and Yi Kang suddenly had a bad feeling. I'm sorry, Mr. Yi Kang, we have some doubts during this operation and are asking Mr. Sasori for advice, and it will be over soon. Don't force me to do it. An Anbu who blocked the door explained to Yi Kang, neither humble nor arrogant. But obviously Yi Kang couldn't listen to it, but Anbu didn't intend to let him in, and immediately prepared hard. Don't make trouble, go away. When the battle between Anbu and Yi Kang was about to begin, Sasori suddenly walked out of the office with a relaxed look, smiled at Yi Kang, and walked towards the territory of the puppet clan. What happened? Hakura glared at Anbu, then followed Sasori and left. She still doesn't know what happened. Small things, the response we supported was ambushed, everyone died, only I was alive, and the object of rescue became the living dead, and sacrificed 3 elite Jonin, many spies from the country of soil and the country of birds, but they didn't get anything. They don't get angry when they have ghosts. Sasori shrugged and briefly explained that the reaction of the senior leaders of the Kingdom of Wind had long been expected by him, and he did so many things, destroying the evidence, and killing the witnesses, naturally for the purpose of hiding it. He intends to turn Black Rock's research into the fruit of the country of wind. Yi Kang continued to inquire about the specific process of the task exhaustion, but did not intend to say it anymore. After Yi Kang repeatedly pressed him, Sasori didn't open it, and directly pulled her closer to the room, and stuffed her clone into her mouth. She shut her mouth. I want to participate in the study of taboo experiments. Back at the location of the puppet clan, Sasori went straight to Chiyo and told Chiyo his thoughts. Do what you want to do, understand what you are doing and what you want to get. Chiyo did not agree or refuse. He just closed his eyes and muttered, what a patriarch wants to do, and he needs to ask others' opinions, but he needs to ask himself. Thanks. Sasori thanked Chiyo and turned to leave. I still think you indulged Sasori too much. After Sasori left, Ebizo made countless admonitions. As a counselor, his instinct told him that continuing to let Sasori go would bring a huge change to the entire Kingdom of Wind. Young people should be crazy, let alone a genius like Sasori. The more you don't let him do things, he will do it. This is a rebellious period that everyone will experience. Chiyo smiled and continued to doze off in the seat with his eyes closed. Ebizo sighed. At this moment, Chiyo was like a grandmother who spoiled her grandson. He couldn't listen to all the bad things about Mom. Long time no see, you are not dead yet. After staying in the puppet family for a while, Sasori left Sunagakur and walked towards the country of the river. At the border of the country of the river, he opened a mechanism that had not been opened for a long time, and lay on the ground when he saw it. With Hidan wearing a black short spear, Sasori immediately showed a heartfelt smile. Hey, I almost died, I just missed a good tailor, you just came. Hidan raised his head, also showing a smile. His left arm and leg have been cut off by a sharp knife, and he has not been connected back yet. Prepare, I want to conduct a taboo experiment here, do you want to be a guinea pig? Sasori's finger hooked, and the suture thread quickly took Hidan's severed limb back. At the same time, he looked at Hidan maliciously. It happened that Hidan was quite a few experimental materials. Anyway, no matter how he mutilated him, he will die. In no mood. It's just that Hidan rejected the exhaustion proposal without hesitation. Sasori flattened his mouth, immediately opened the scroll that he brought with him, took out a living corpse, and performed an autopsy directly on the stone platform not far away. Now that he has successful experience in front of him, he only needs to follow it. Just go down the road. In half a year, he began to frantically accept the mission assigned by the Kingdom of Wind. His name quickly became popular. After each mission, he would return to his secret laboratory with different ninjas to conduct experiments. The content on the forbidden scroll obtained from Black Rock or the scroll obtained from Luasha has been completely mastered, and the research has begun to continue in a deeper direction. After the war, Kawa no Kuni vigorously developed tourism and manufacturing, and ushered in rapid economic development. In a well-known domestic tavern, many ninjas from different countries came from far away to drink. Suddenly a figure broke through the floor from the private room on the second floor and fell directly down the hall on the first floor. Sasori, with short burgundy hair, showed a cold smile at the figure sitting down in the big hole upstairs. In the corner of the pub, a drunk figure raised his head, took a look, and then laid his head with long blonde hair on the table, and a clothed piggy was on the table with a guarded look. It's Sasori of the Red Sand. Sasori's wine-red hair and the puppet crow standing next to him have become Sasori's symbols, and they were immediately recognized by many people. In the past 6 months, he has been the most aggressive and ruthless character in the entire Wind Kingdom. None of the missions he participated in was a failure. Extremely dangerous, facing enemies several times his own, but the final result of the mission is that the enemies are completely destroyed. The only difference is how many friendly members are left to perform the mission with Sasori. The A-level rebels in the Kingdom of Wind, Zuoshin Yilang has been confirmed dead, and the corpse was recovered. All his party feathers were destroyed, and the mission was completed. Quote, as the ninja wearing Sand Shinobi forehead protector fell from the building, several Anbu from Wind Country who were assisting prostitution with masks appeared beside him, cut off the head of Sand Shinobi, and sealed the body into the scroll. Another masked Anbu walked out behind Mom. He had just completed the count of the death toll. The mission that Sasori performed this time was to eliminate the rebels. As in the previous missions, the intelligence is still inaccurate. The number of enemies is much more than the intelligence. Behind Sasori, there are 65 rebels from various countries. According to the intelligence, a level rebellious ninja Zuo Tian Yilang should have joined a small organization, which was mixed with many rebellious ninjas from other countries. There were at most a dozen people in this rally. Fortunately, Sasori finally completed the task, and the Anbu members who followed him did not dare to get too close to him. For half a year, he was already recognized as a broom star in the Kingdom of Wind. In the end, apart from Yi Kang, only Anbu's people were willing to act with him. You go first, I'll go home by myself with a drink. The gaze that was supposed to leave suddenly glanced at a corner of the tavern, and then waved at Anbu calmly. After the task is completed, everyone is free, and it is his freedom to want to go. All the members of Anbu didn't have any nonsense, and left the scene as soon as they wanted. After the disturbance just now, the people in the tavern have almost dispersed, only the owner and the buddy of the tavern found a corner to hide and dare not show up. Sasori walked straight to the table where the only person was sitting, and sat down opposite the other person. A woman with long blonde hair was lying on the table. Several empty hip flasks were scattered on the table, and a little fragrant pig wearing clothes was staring vigilantly. There is someone next to me, you can change to another position. The man lying on the table didn't even lift his head, so he waved his hand with an earned sound, and a scent of alcohol came to his face. There has been no one by your side, and the person in your heart has long been gone. Sasori picked up the wine glass on the table for himself, poured himself a glass of wine, took a sip, then sighed and said quietly. This is the first time Sasori drank alcohol after he came into this world, and suddenly found that he seemed to have neglected many things in life. He was getting stronger every day, but he forgot to enjoy the beauty of this world. Roll. At the same time that Sasori was a little emotional, the hand that was originally waving in the air suddenly clenched into a fist, and the violent murderousness instantly rushed from the drunk person in front of him, and the other party slammed into the exhausted head with a punch. A punch blasted his head. Don't get excited, I just want to have a drink. Numerous silk threads rose from Sasori's neck and regrouped into an exhausted look. With a soft smile, Mom poured herself a glass of wine again. Sasori of the Red Sand, the next family of the puppet clan of the Kingdom of Wind, what do you want to do? Just as Sasori put the wine glass to his mouth, a handful of kunai attached to chakra was placed on his exhausted neck. The surface of kunai was covered with black mucus, which had obviously been smeared with poison. A girl with short black hair stood behind Sasori with a frosty face and directly revealed Sasori's identity. As long as there is any change, she will do it the first time. I have already said, I just want to have a drink, and Konoha's Tsunade princess. If Sasori didn't feel the pain on her neck, she drank the wine in the glass again, and then a strange smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. It was not someone else in front of her, but Tsunade, one of Konoha Sanin. It was Tsunade who was drunk, so it was naturally Tsunade's disciple, Kato Dan's niece Shizune, who attacked. No one has ever taught you that before the enemy is not showing hostility, it is very rude not to put a weapon on someone else's neck casually. When Sasori put down the wine glass, the smile on the corner of his mouth turned into a sneer, and the next moment Shizune's pupils shrank, and a small sound of breaking air came from behind her. A strong sense of crisis emerged spontaneously. I've only learned that in front of a dangerous enemy, you must act first to be strong. Attacking Shizune from behind was a puppet crow. Shizune dexterously escaped the crow's attack. He slid on the table with one hand, turned with one hand, picked up the ninja pig, Mai, and stood behind Tsunade. The feeling Sasori gave him was too strong. It was like the poisonous mist she was exposed to for the first time. Even if she didn't touch it, just staying together would make her feel suffocated. The enemy. We will be our own soon, and you will kneel before me and beg me. Sasori still didn't mean to be out, but with a slightly evil smile, he kept sweeping around Tsunade and Shizune. Sasori didn't expect to encounter Tsunade in this mission. According to time calculation, Tsunade should have just lost his brother and lover at this time, and fell into the lowest point of life. He was drinking or gambling all day long. Although Sasori doesn't believe in ghosts and gods, he is a person who believes in fate. Hokage's world is so big, but letting himself and Tsunade meet shows that everyone is fate. It is just in the past 6 months that Sasori and Yekora have already played everything that should be played. After that, I'm a little tired of playing, it's time to change to a more interesting show. The combination of Tsunade plus Shizune, buy one get one free, Sasori likes it, and Sasori's mind suddenly has a lot of storytelling, and the corners of his mouth are inexplicably twitched. The look on Sasori's face made Shizune, who was always staring at him, feel a chill, and immediately stared at Sasori more vigilantly, but she did not intend to fight Sasori hard, but planned to retreat with Tsunade. Just now in a brief confrontation, let Shizune understand that Sasori's strength may not be strong, but it is weird, the Sasori in front of him may not even be the real body. You little devil who doesn't have the same hair, thinks that a little strength is great. Tell you, this world is very dangerous, and many self-righteous ninjas like you will die. Just when Shizune was about to throw out the smoke bomb and left with Tsunade, his face was flushed, and Tsunade, who was drinking and drinking, propped his head and looked at Sasori jokingly. Since Nawaki and the death of Tsunade, Tsunade has always been able to do so. Seeing their shadows in other people, but this will only make her feel more painful. Like Nawaki and Suan, exhausted glances at the pair of huge pillows on Tsunade's table. It's so magnificent. The Y groove is almost bottomless. With a mocking smile, he directly pointed out what Tsunade said. There are actually many ways to irritate Tsunade, but the most effective way is Nawaki. Do you know a lot, but people who know too much often don't live long. Sure enough, Tsunade's face turned gloomy in an instant, and the burgundy color of her face quickly faded. Chakra began to gather in her right fist, snorted, and slammed directly at the place where Sasori was. Boom! With a blast, the ground of the entire tavern suddenly cracked, and the three-story tavern collapsed just after Tsunade's punch. Sasori flew back quickly with an expected smile, but Tsunade was chasing after her with a frosty face, and followed her behind her mother, performing continuous attacks with physical skills, and the entire street was caught in the violent Tsunade's attack. The next is destroyed. Tsunade's strength is stronger than Sasori believes. It is worthy of being one of Konoha's Sannin. His puppet is not able to withstand a blow in front of Tsunade. Even the most defensive Sancho fish is also blocking Tsunade's second punch. Then burst. Let alone other puppets, they can't stop Tsunade's blow at all, and those small injuries are even more innocuous. Tsunade did not specifically deal with it, but only summoned a sister-in-law, and the editor took her on her body. All the above are dealt with. As for the poison, Tsunade also has no effect on Tsunade. Tsunade will suppress the exhausted poison for the first time every time. Although Sasori could not defeat Tsunade, Tsunade was helpless with Sasori. Tsunade did not catch up to exhaustion, but her attack only blasted Sasori's Shadow Knight string every time. Sasori's body didn't know where it was hiding. This is the strength of string fruit. The Shadow Knight string clone created by it cannot be distinguished from the authenticity at all. I don't actually like fighting, but I like to bet. Life is a big bet. You are a medical ninja and I am a puppet master. Let's bet. I bet you can't detox my poison. After consecutive misses, Tsunade also calmed down, began to slow down the attack, and began to search for Sasori's true body. And Mom threw the subject at the same time. Not interested in. But Tsunade refused Sasori's proposal without hesitation. You will be interested. Sasori didn't intend that Tsunade would compromise so easily, otherwise it would be too boring, and immediately snapped his fingers, and two poisonous spiders suddenly crawled out from two locations far away from Tsunade, and started spraying small poisons in the first place. The spider, but the target of Sasori's attack is not Tsunade himself. The appearance of the small poisonous spiders did not explode all at once, only one exploded, and the toxin immediately caused an ordinary population shrinking in a corner to spit white foam. The second wave will be detonated after 5 seconds. If you don't bet that they will all die, you want to watch these innocent people die in front of you one by one. Sasori looked at Tsunade jokingly. The little poisonous spiders had already begun to approach other innocent people. As long as their minds moved, these people would die. This time there will be 3, next time there will be 6. Do you bet? Tsunade yelled and fisted again, but Sasori no longer dodged this time, and was directly blasted by Tsunade's Shadow Knight string. At the same time, he snapped his fingers again, and 3 small poisonous spiders exploded, causing 3 ordinary people. Poisoning. What does the life and death of these people have to do with me? Tsunade's eyes were full of anger. Although she wanted to save these people, it was impossible to compromise with Sasori, so she still attacked the reunited Sasori. Healing the clone also requires chakra. Tsunade can't. It can always be like this. Healing continues. As long as she finds Sasori's true body, she will die. What a cruel woman. Sasori shrugged and snapped his fingers again. Suddenly, nearly half of the small poisonous spiders exploded. You lunatic. Tsunade's pupils shrank. Although she killed many people and saw many murderers in this time full of iron and blood, she had never seen such a person who was able to harvest the lives of ordinary people so indifferently. You weren't the first to say that, and it won't be the last. There's half of it. Do you gamble or not? Sasori smiled at Tsunade again, and immediately shook his left hand, and the remaining small poisonous spiders that hadn't exploded began to move. Don't bet. Although Tsunade knew that Sasori would definitely do what he said, he still gritted his teeth and made a decision. It was not Tsunade who did not have confidence in him, but out of ninja intuition. I am afraid it will be difficult to come out. Well, you remember, this man is one of Konoha's most outstanding Sannin, a disciple of 3rd Hokage, Tsunade, who is known as the Healing Hand. Originally, as long as she nodded, all of you would leave without incident, but because she couldn't save her, those people died. And you are lucky, but your skin will continue to fester. You took your life and come back. Go away. Quote. She immediately flattened her mouth. Tsunade's determination was unexpectedly firm, but it was fun, and immediately detonated the remaining little poisonous spiders again, but this time the poisonous spiders were no longer splashing venom, and it was poisonous fog, and the dense poisonous fog caused all those who were shrouded in it to start a miserable howl. Sasori's voice was clearly transmitted to the ears of everyone who was still alive, and everyone turned their eyes to Tsunade almost at the same time, and everyone stared at Tsunade with a hateful look. People are like this. They should hate the poisoned Sasori, but they didn't save them because Tsunade had a chance to save them, so the hatred was transferred to Tsunade. Tsunade's face was already ugly and scary, and he even had an urge to kill all these people. These people who have nothing to do with you can't make you tempted. What about her? Shizune's movements didn't stop, fingers hooked. Shizune suddenly walked out of the ruins. The crow was behind him, a poisonous needle had been pierced into Shizune's neck, and the weird patterns were on Shizune's spread on the neck. Exclamation mark. Tsunade's anger was completely ignited in an instant. After Nawaki and Susan died, if you say who is the person he cares most about, then it is undoubtedly Shizune. For the first time, Tsunade appeared in front of Shizune and slammed the crow with a punch, but the crow had no intention of holding hostages at all. He pushed Shizune out and flew back, but he didn't want the puppet he had made so hard to be beaten casually, broken. Your time is running out. She will be poisoned in at most 1 minute. Exhausted at the spreading pattern on Shizune's neck, Shion told Tsunade of the time limit. This was a brand new toxin developed by Shion after conducting a human taboo experiment. Neurotoxin. The blood is also infected by Wangjiao compound toxin. Tsunade removed the poison needle for the first time, twisted with Shizune's blood, and immediately judged the type of toxin. Although this poison is tricky, it is nothing to Tsunade. Tsunade was immediately on Shizune's wound. A cut was made in the upper part, chakra gathered in the palm, pressed Shizune's wound, and violently pulled. A stream of dark purple blood was pulled out by Tsunade, and even the patterns that were still spreading began to disappear gradually. I can cure this kind of poison when I am 13 years old. Tsunade stared at Mom with a sneer, but before she could finish what she was about to show off, Shizune's wound suddenly changed again. It only took about 20 seconds before Tsunade absorbed the toxin in Shizune's wound, but when Tsunade thought that the poison had been resolved, Shizune's wound suddenly changed again, and the pattern that had disappeared spread again. The blood flowing out also turned purple and black again. There are still the last 30 seconds. It's too late to bet with me. I won't be able to save her anymore. Sasori smiled brightly at Tsunade. It's normal that Tsunade can't get rid of the toxin, but Sasori has already done tricks in Shizune's body. Summoning technique. Tsunade's face became cold, and he bit his finger for the first time, summoned Katsuyu's clone, and placed it on Shizune's wound. Master Tsunade, I'm sorry, but there is nothing I can do. Yes, when I want to heal the wounds in her body and prevent the spread of toxins, new wounds are created. Just like Tsunade, Katsuyu quickly said that the toxins in Shizune were absorbed, but after a while new toxins appeared again. Such repeated toxins, Tsunade was the first time I saw it. While conducting human experiments in half a year, Sasori found that as the awareness of human internal organs increases, gradually the ability to control string fruit is also increasing, and there are faint signs of awakening, especially for yourself. In the treatment of this aspect, string fruit can be sutured directly in the body without damaging the skin of the body, and it only needs to discharge the congestion in the body. Not long ago, Sasori found a new way to use it. He was able to generate the seed of the thread and bury it in the body of other creatures. Sasori is the seed that has a thread built into Shizune's body, and this seed contains the same toxin. Tsunade and the previous one did detox Shizune, but the seed that quietly controlled the thread released the toxin again. This is the reason why Shizune's toxin is repeated. Since there is no chakra fluctuation when the string fruit ability is activated, it will not be discovered by outsiders, but the person who is placed in the seed can feel it, so Shizune is dizzy, so that she will not reveal this secret. The last 10 seconds, 9, 8. Sasori, who was able to cheat perfectly, spoke again with an abusive smile when Katsuyu expressed his incompetence, and the countdown began. I'm blind to you. Seeing Shizune, whose toxins spread faster and faster, Tsunade gritted his teeth immediately and roared. Sasori hooked his finger, and a crow not far away suddenly shot a poisonous needle from his mouth, hitting Shizune's neck again, and immediately the toxin pattern on Shizune's neck began to fade away, but Shizune himself remained unconscious. After a while, it will be okay. I abide by the agreement. It will take you for a long time. Let's start. I have 3 kinds of poisons. If you solve all of them, even if you win, if you don't solve them, you will naturally lose. It's you and myself. Angry at Shizune, Mom turned her gaze to Tsunade and told the details of the bet. Sasori knows very well that it is impossible to get Tsunade's heart. There are people in his heart. It is almost impossible to replace the position in Tsunade's heart. There is no need to waste time, so he chose another one. Road, first get your people, and then you can slowly adjust. The human body taboo experiment. In addition to bringing new toxins to the bat, there is also a special Eba ninjutsu which can be used on Tsunade's body. But when Tsunade heard the content of the bet, he immediately attacked Sasori again. You shoot directly, and I will assume that you are acquiescence. Then the start fell. When you detoxified Shizune just now, you had already been poisoned by my first type of poison. It's still the same. There is only a 1-minute time limit. Sasori easily escaped Tsunade's attack, and then opened his mouth full of laughter. The end of the poison needle that was originally inserted in Shizune's neck contained another toxin. When Tsunade touched the poison needle, the toxin had already penetrated into her body unknowingly. How is this possible? At this time, Tsunade discovered that thin red Madara had risen on the surface of her skin, which was a sign of poisoning. As a medical ninja, she didn't even notice that she was poisoned at all, not even any poisoned ones. Knowledge. After carefully feeling her physical condition, Tsunade's face changed drastically. Her chakra disappeared like ice and snow, and the speed was still accelerating. Chakra Dream Demon spread through sweat. A special toxin, to be precise, is like a neutralizer, which can unknowingly neutralize the chakra in the human body. If you don't use chakra, the neutralizing effect is only it's not obvious, but once chakra is used, the neutralizing effect will increase. Although Sasori also wants to cheat on Tsunade like he cheated on Shizune, the only way for string fruit to put seeds in is through physical contact. During the attack, Tsunade will definitely find it and get rid of it. It's better to keep it. Even if he can't cheat, Sasori is still confident. Chakra Dream Monster as he prepared a feast for Tsunade. This toxin is only in the hands of Sasori. This is his from a ninja with a special blood limit. The toxin extracted from the body, and this blood-bound ninja has been completely extinct. Thank you for your explanation. Toxins neutralize chakra, just like water and fire. Not water can extinguish the fire. When the number of fires exceeds a certain limit, the water can be evaporated, and your poison is the same. After experiencing the initial panic, Tsunade quickly calmed down. As a good ninja, the most important thing is to stay calm at all times, and then find a solution based on all clues. There is no doubt that Tsunade is an excellent ninja, and Sasori's explanation immediately allowed Tsunade to find a way to understand the poison. 100 Healings Mark Solution. Baihao Technique. Tsunade's hands quickly formed a seal, and the diamond-shaped mark in the middle of his forehead suddenly bloomed like a flower, and the amazingly huge chakra burst out, and instantly swept Tsunade's whole body. When chakra calmed down, it was exactly the same as she thought. The weird toxin that was originally in the body has disappeared. I haven't opened the 100 Healings mark for a long time. After the violent chakra emerged, Tsunade gasped slightly. It really deserves to be one of Konoha Sanin's Tsunade, so let's use Shikai's second poison. While you are breathing, you are already poisoned. Sasori's face was not surprised at all, but with a slight smile, Tsunade released the seal to detoxify can be said to be expected, or Sasori wanted Tsunade to release the seal. The reason why he did his own poison. Such detailed comments are intended to guide Tsunade to use her method of pressing the bottom of the box. Tsunade's face is not pretty. I didn't expect to be forced out of Baihao technique in the end. Now that Baihao technique has been used, there is no need to bother about this stupid bet for a long time. Just when Tsunade is ready to use Baihao technique to launch a counterattack, she suddenly found something wrong with her body. Sasori's second toxin has already been released. Tsunade's breathing was stagnant, and unexpectedly, before he knew it, he was recruited again. Anyway, Sasori's poisoning method is the strongest Tsunade has ever seen. Hurrying to calm down, Tsunade began to check her body's condition again, but her blood and skin were not abnormal at all. At the same time Tsunade was puzzled, her knees suddenly softened and she knelt down suddenly. Carbonated poisonous fog, it is spread through the air and will not affect the flesh and blood. This is a toxin that specifically attacks bones. The bones of the human body are mainly composed of calcium, and this toxin involves some theoretical knowledge of chemistry. You can explain it, but you can't understand it. Simply put, this toxin can destroy the bones in the human body and make it fragile. Actions that are too large will short-circuit your bones, about a minute. After that, even if you don't do anything, the bones will all turn into blood. Sasori stood in front of her hand, showing a wicked smile at Tsunade condescendingly, looking down at Tsunade from this angle, just enough to get a sweeping view of the scenery below her neck, and there is a pleasure of conquering spontaneously any dream the hopeless goddess kneels in front of you. This feeling will be particularly exciting. The second toxin is a whim of Sasori. Although the power system between the two worlds is different, many things are the same, such as the body composition, so this toxin that can dissolve bones was specially developed. Your toxin is indeed terrible. If you change someone else, you will definitely be dead, but your biggest mistake is to use it on me. Ninja art. Meiotic regeneration. Tsunade felt the bones in her body quickly decompose, and took a deep breath. Sasori's toxin is indeed possible. If Shizune is poisoned, she really can't detoxify it, but she can't detoxify it in her own body. Worried, the hands quickly formed the seal again, and immediately the pattern on Tsunade's forehead became more complicated. The bones that were about to turn into blood almost completed the process of regrowth in an instant. But the power of Sasori's poisonous mist is indeed powerful. Even if Tsunade uses ninja art, meiotic regeneration, the toxins are still eroding Tsunade's newly born bones. After a long time, the toxins are completely exhausted. The accident happened again. Tsunade just showed a proud look, and her body appeared strange. No matter what kind of poison is, it has no effect on me. I will bring you back to Konoha. The rest of your life will always be spent in imprisonment. Interested in. With a deep breath, Tsunade stood up from the ground. Tsunade's biggest trump card is the medical forbidden technique she developed. Originally, Tsunade didn't intend to use it, but now that it has been used, it must pay a price. Sasori is too dangerous. The poison alone made Tsunade feel terrified. In addition, after dealing with Sasori for so long, she still couldn't find where the exhausted body was hiding. There was a sneer at the drink. Although Tsunade couldn't find the body, Tsunade planned to completely destroy everything related to Sasori. Then, there will naturally be nowhere to hide Sasori's body. Tsunade, who used the forbidden technique, raised a strong sense of self-confidence for no reason. There is an old saying in my hometown. Don't laugh before the end. Only the one who laughs last is the real winner. The last poison is, by the way, to tell you that you have already been caught by this poison. Quote. Sasori stood a long time away from Tsunade from the beginning to the end, took out a small bottle from his arms without rushing, and smashed it directly to the ground. A foul smell instantly permeated, although Tsunade was the first time dodging, but still smelling the pungent smell. The next moment Tsunade felt his body heat up suddenly, as if he had become a lobster thrown into the boiling water. Almost instantly Tsunade was weak. He fell down and was held firmly in his arms. Virus spore, the last kind of poison, to be precise, is a kind of bacteria. After this kind of bacteria invades the human body, people will feel like they have a high fever, become unconscious and lose their ability to move. This is me on the battlefield. I found something from the corpse of an older generation of the Aburame clan in Konoha village. Even I was almost shot. According to my guess, it should be that after his death, the worm he raised with his body was transformed into a corpse, a new virus born again. Sasori hugged Tsunade, which was hot all over. Although Tsunade was confused, he explained it. Due to the lack of materials for human body research, Sasori chose to go to the battlefield to create a grave, and the result is really not to mention. He really created a lot of good things, and the land of the country has flowed out 2 research results about the immortality experiment, perfected by Sasori, became 2 secret killer coppers, and the biggest gain was the poison he used on Tsunade. Even after inhaling these bacteria, they fell to the ground. If string fruit had not been able to deal with the injuries and abnormalities in Sasori's body at that time, I am afraid it would have died first. Before, these bacteria were parasitic in the first toxin. When you use chakra to detoxify, the toxins are indeed cleared, but these bacteria remain in your body, but I did not activate them. I know that it was for you at the time. I can still recover through the forbidden technique, so I use the second poison. I guess you will use the forbidden technique to regenerate your body. When your body regenerates, these bacteria will be completely integrated into your flesh and blood. In chakra, when I activate them again, you have lost the possibility of getting rid of them. Even it took me nearly half a year to find a way to detoxify, it is impossible for you to be in such a short period of time. A detoxification method was found within a period of time, and your consciousness has been blurred. The reason why Sasori agreed on 3 toxins is to pave the way for the third virus and bacteria. Sasori's next 2 toxins are also fatal to others, but he knows that Tsunade, who has a medical forbidden technique, is not at all. It's nothing, but to force Tsunade's forbidden technique, consume her chakra, and at the same time let this virus and bacteria completely merge with Tsunade's reborn flesh and blood. When these viruses merged with Tsunade completely, even Tsunade couldn't resist it when it broke out. Her completely blurred consciousness made her spin around like she was in a dream. You have lost, so as agreed, you are now mine, then I should detoxify you, but unfortunately I can't solve it here. Sasori picked Tsunade up, with a somewhat expectant smile, walked slowly towards his secret base. Stop, where are you going to take Tsunade-sama? It's just that Shizune, who had woken up, roared before he went far. Sasori used her as a bait to force Tsunade to try the poison. Deprived of toxins, he couldn't make any response. Now that he wants to take Tsunade away, Shizune will naturally not let it go. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.